Beach County area of Florida, as well as some other states in the area, and outside of the country too. But anyhow, I've been doing this for a long while, and I'm very excited about the new Document Designer feature. It's something that we've been looking for, hoping to get into the software. And with the release version 15, it's now available for subcontracts or commitment information. What we're going to do is present an overview of it, a little bit of a demo so you can see how it works. And at the end of today's session, you should have an understanding of what Document Designer is designed to do, what kind of documents can be used with, and the system requirements for using it. I'll also give you an overview so you can see demonstrating how you can build a customized user-modifiable subcontract form. Document Designer is available with version 15.1, as I said, and it's available for people who use job cost or project management. Again, at the time, it's the first release of the software, and the first feature that they brought out for it is the commitments. So with commitments, you can create a document in Microsoft Word using merged data fields from the database for subcontracts and purchase orders. At this point, that's what they're releasing, and they've promised to expand on that in the future. There was some talk of even doing property management data. Nothing firm. I can't release any release dates of that nature, but those are the kinds of things that we're going to be expanding this into. So the types of things you can do with Document Designer is create a logo onto your subcontract or PO header, to add additional fields from the database into a document. And you can also save that document as a unique Microsoft Word record inside the database. So what do you need to run Document Designer? Well, first of all, you're going to need to be running version 15.1 of Sage 300 Construction and Real Estate. That's the latest upgrade, and that's the primary feature that they released with this new update. So if you've been on the fence about upgrading to version 15.1, you might want to consider it if you would like the ability to build your subcontracts and purchase orders in Word form. The other thing that you're going to need is a specific version of Microsoft Word. So it has to be version 2010 or later. Anything earlier than version 2010 of Word will not work with Document Designer. So let's hop in to the database. Oh, I just wanted to mention one other thing related to Microsoft Word. So even if you're on the right version of Microsoft Word, you may get a message like this that pops up on your screen when you first launch it. There is an add-in that was specifically designed to work with Document Designer, and it has to be added to the workstation. So when you first go in, each user is going to get this message, and they're going to have to hit the install button in order to move past. And that's what basically links in the ability to pull table and fields from the Sage database into your document. So if that pops up, I just wanted you to be aware of that. Okay, so you can see I'm in Sage 300. I've got the screen open. I'm in desktop. This will work whether you're using Sage Desktop or if you're still using TS Main from the old Timberline days. And it works with two applications, Project Management and Job Cost. And up here you can see the subcontract. I have a link, a shortcut to the Job Cost Commitments link. I'm going to go ahead and click there and open up the Commitments task. So the first thing I have to do is pull up a commitment. You can see all of the buttons on the right are grayed out because I haven't got a commitment up yet. I'm going to open up one of my subcontracts. It doesn't have to be any specific contract. It doesn't have to be the subcontract I'm going to be working with. It's just to be able to get to the template and be able to modify it. I've picked one that's already been invoiced against. I'm just going to hit OK and move past that so that I can get to Document Designer. Now that I'm in the record, I can see this button is no longer grayed out, it's accessible, and I'm going to click Document Designer to launch the new feature. So when you go into Document Designer, you will have a subcontract docx and a purchase order docx and a couple of other forms that are out here. You'll notice I have some out here with the name Alliance in them. That's because once I have worked with a template, I don't want to overwrite the original. I want to save it under a different name. That way, if it didn't go the way I wanted it to, I can abandon what I've been working on and go back to the original and start fresh. So that's what I did at the earlier session. I went ahead and renamed some of these files. I'm going to go into subcontract docx, and I'm going to go into edit template. I'll explain these other buttons in a few minutes. Takes a little bit of time. If I try to click it again, sometimes I'm going to get a pop-up message saying that that file's in use, so I just have to be patient. And there it opened up. So you can see a Word document here, and on the right-hand side there's a panel that shows the different fields that are on the JCM commitment table in Sage 300 Timberline. And on the left you'll see the Word document. Every one of these fields that has a squiggly bracket around it is an actual field pulled from the database. You're not seeing any values. What you're seeing is the name of the field because I'm still in template mode. I haven't actually created a document with it. It's only at this point it's a template. So there's a lot of things we can do with these templates to make them unique for our company. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by clicking up in the header and add my logo. I just double click to be able to get to the header. And by the way, it helps to have a little information about how Microsoft Word works when you're working with this application. But it's not, you don't have to be a genius at Word to be able to work with it. I'm going to go into the Insert screen, and then I'll click the Pictures option. And I think on my desktop I have a logo for Alliance. I'm going to insert that. So I've just inserted a logo. So from now on, this template file will have that logo on the screen and on the documents as I create them. The other thing I can do is pull in values from the database. Maybe I'd like to put in some information from the job record. I want them to be able to know who to call if they have a question about this, and they are going to be calling the project manager. So I might come down here maybe after the exclusions, and I'll put in another row and I'll say, if you have questions, blah, blah, blah. But what I really want to know is who their project manager is, so I can pull their name in. And to get to the project manager, I don't have that information right on the commitment record. That information isn't stored anywhere, but it is stored on a linked record. And to get to a linked record, I'm going to click this button to bring up the list of all of the linked fields. So these tables that I'm seeing here include all the things that I can pull from. You'll see the APN vendor is here, and that's how they got the vendor name and address to appear on the template that gets shipped with the software. But I want the project manager. Well, I know we put the project manager on the job cost job record. I'm going to open up that table, and you can see the link and see where I'm at and what fields I'm pulling in from or what table I'm in. And I'm going to go to the project manager field right here and double click. So I have just pulled in, that's my first record that I've modified. I pulled in that table. The other thing you'll see is these look like actual tables, and they are. They're tables in the sense because they're Microsoft Word tables, but they're also tables in the database. And to get to a table, let me go ahead and pull this item number list. And to show you how that got pulled in, I'm going to start by deleting it. And I'm going to add it back in again. And to do that, I'm going to go to the JCM commitment record. I'm just going to double click to go back one level to the prior table. And you'll see down at the very bottom right, there's an insert table button. I'm going to click there. And I know my information I want is on the JCM commitment item, and I'm going to select fields. So I can pull in the item number, the description, and the cost code. Those are all things that I want to be able to reference. And that's how I add in a table. And the formatting and everything can be taken care of by using Microsoft Word. So that's just a little information about how to start modifying these templates. Now, I'm going to, again, save under a different name because I started to make changes, but if I decide that I've made a mistake and I put something in wrong, it might be easier to start over. So I'm going to do a save as. And I'll save that, and now it's a saved separate template file. I'm going to close. Now, I have my templates listed, but I don't see the one I added, which was subcontract 1. So what I have to remember to do is refresh this list by clicking this button, and then the new one will show up as well. So now I've got mine, and I'm going to go back to Edit Template and bring it up and make sure it's what I want. If I had to make any additional changes, that's how I would do it. There we go. And that's what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and start using that. Now, how do I use it? Well, in order to actually take this subcontract and put it into this document and merge in these fields, what I need to do is select the template I want to use and click a new document. The new document name is going to be the same as the commitment number, but you can use other names. It's really up to you how you want to identify them. Some people would put the vendor name. It's not as limited as our commitment ID number is, so you can add additional information. The other thing I'm going to want to do is click this Link as Attachment button. Linking as an attachment will allow me to see it and store it inside the database. So I'm going to create that new document. Now, the difference between a document and a template doesn't show any information. It's just the values. It's showing the template file information. But when I create a new document, it's an actual living Word document. So now you can see who it's for. It's for Kingston Plumbing. You can see the table of items that I added. And you can see that they need to call Michael Perkins if they have any questions. So those are the modifications that I made, along with putting that logo at the top. Now, this is when it gets really special because I don't have to end there. If I had a scope of work, one of my clients mentioned to me that they have a scope of work that in Sage, I think, allows you maybe a couple of 100 letters, and theirs was paragraph upon paragraph that they had to put in here. Well, this can be your scope of work, and you can continue to expand upon it as much as you want to. There is no limit to this. It can be 10 pages of comments. And at the end of it, potentially, you could have additional information such as the subcontract amount. So if that information needs to be permanent, I would save it as a template. But if it's a one-off, just something to be put in this one document, this one subcontract, then I would just type it in here on the fly. So this allows us to make unique records out of the database and then additional information that we have. That's how it gets a little bit easier to use than a Crystal Report Writer or a Report Designer type format, because now we can make any changes that we need to on the fly. And when I close, you'll see there's a piece of paper in that paper clip, which is my file link that I just created. So anyone who has access to setting up a commitment can come out here and view the actual document that was sent out. So that's the difference between generating a document template, and an actual document. We do have the option then to select and remove. So you can delete a template. I would use a lot of caution doing that. The other thing to be aware of is this is securable. So within the security settings, we can define who has access to edit the template and delete the template. So it's very easy to get these mixed up. I had one client that started to use it, and they had staff members going into edit template by mistake and making changes there and ruining basically the template, so they had to come back and fix it back the way it had been. But you can restrict that. So only certain people are allowed to go ahead and create new templates or edit templates or delete templates, so that generally the people that are going to be entering commitments are just going to be doing new documents based on the templates that are already there. Also, there is no limit to how many templates you have. So some of my clients, they have contracts that have 20 paragraphs of information on their subcontract, but not all of it applies for every subcontract. So depending on the type of subcontract, some of those paragraphs don't really apply. So what they can do is create one that has all of those paragraphs in it, and then save it under a different name, and then remove the paragraphs that don't apply to that next one, and keep going until they have as many different iterations of the subcontract template as they need, and then they have far less work to do after they generate the document here in Document Designer. So hopefully just the information that gets pulled in will be appropriate. One thing I want you to watch out for, because this has been something that we have run into. In fact, there's a knowledge base article about this I found. Once you're editing the template and you said, well, I want to put something in here and I'm going to put something, maybe I want to put deer instead of just putting the vendor name. Well, that's all well and good, but if I put deer here, if I pop this open as a document, you're not going to see the word deer, and that's because I've embedded it inside this linked field, and this linked field is only going to pull the vendor contact name. It's not going to read my letters. So you want to be careful to put it in front of that field, and it looks very much the same, but it's not really. If you highlight it, you can see that it's actually, this little tag lets you know where the field from the database begins, so you can make sure that you're not embedding what you want to type inside the field itself. What else have I run into? Yes, these are Word tables, just so you know. And if you've worked with Word tables, that's great. They're great at allowing us to put our values in nice columns, but you can see what happens if you're not working with them properly. They get a little bit skewed. You have to watch out for that. So if you've worked with Word tables before, that will be very helpful. And they are, like I said, they're very helpful to have that information in there. Now I went ahead and accidentally deleted something I really didn't want to have to go and pull it back in. I could come back out here and I could pull in the commitment number and drop it there. And I could pull in the date and drop it there. Very easy to add that back. If I didn't want to, though, I could just close and not save my changes and then come back in here again. Am I stressing that too much? Definitely have seen people run into that kind of an issue. Okay, well, I think we're just about done with the demonstration. And let's see, Jim, if you want to open it up for questions, I think we've got plenty of time for a couple of questions here.
Okay, great. Yeah, so everybody in the GoToWebinar control panel on the right side of your screen, or it might be up in the top center, there should be an option where you can expand the questions box and enter a question. We can get that and get that to Kathy. You can also ask your questions right in the chat box if you like, if that's easier. No questions yet.
That's great. I must have done a great job explaining everything.
Yeah.
As we're waiting for questions to come up, let me just talk about the different document types. So they've added different document types besides the purchase order and the subcontract. Notice to proceed, letter of intent, and subcontractor agreement checklist. You can tell, though, that all of these fields are coming, the fields that are in these templates are coming from the commitment record. So as they expand on this further, you're going to find different types of documents as well. Does anybody have maybe a very complicated subcontract that would be helpful to be able to use this? Anything that they, let's see. I think I already touched on all the questions that I had from the last session. I do have an option here for new template. That's really great for the future when you've really mastered this, but I have found that it's really much easier to start with a template that's already there and then make changes to it. A new template is, let's just call it what it is. It's a blank screen. It's a blank canvas for you to modify and add in the fields. If you're very good with Microsoft Word, then that may be the way you want to go. But you can see it's a blank screen. You're just going to start typing and start pulling values in. That might be useful for a very simple form, but if you're going to be doing a subcontract or a purchase order, I would definitely go with one of the template files that's already there and then tweak it as you go.
All right, we do have a question. Have you heard if they are expanding it to lien releases?
I have not heard that, but to me that's an absolute no-brainer. It makes perfect sense because of the nature of lien releases being specific to different states or different jobs or different, particularly state requirements, that makes perfect sense. But no, I have not heard that yet.